You're on the Unpopular Opinion Show with Johnny Caruso. Welcome to the show. So in today's show, we got Mr. Gavin Newsom out in California. It appears he might be in a little hot water. It appears he may be running some kind of scheme there in California in which they're giving illegals driver's license and CDLs to drive. I don't know how that's possible. You get on the road and can't speak English. You have to be able to understand the rules of the road and communicate with other drivers and understand the rules of the road that you're seeing. As you know, there was a semi truck with an illegal driver out in Florida. They tried to make a U-turn in the middle of the interstate, and 3 cars collided into it, and 3 people have died as a result. It would appear that the driver got a CDL in California and was making his way with the truck down to Florida. There was some back and forth in which Gavin Newsom says, hey, the Trump administration granted him permission to drive, and then Pam Bondi or DHS pulled up some receipts, and apparently they say not so fast that he was revoked. And it was under the Biden administration, which he was, if you see the thumbnail, you'll see they pulled up receipts in which it claims that it was under the Biden administration, which this driver was approved to drive. We all know Democrats are allowing a lot of people into the country for whatever reason. And so one could assume, yeah, they did allow him in and gave him a driver's license. But if you want to believe they're just picking strawberries and berries, hey, that's why we make the show. So if you look up here to the right, these are the topics of the day. We're going to run through the video clips. And at the end, I'll give my unpopular opinion of the day. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and give me a subscribe or just fasten your seatbelts. This is a channel full of controversy. We don't give the mainstream opinions. We will play some mainstream video. We don't care where the footage comes from, but at the end of the day, we're going to give our unpopular opinion, and you can tell me what you think in the comment section. Feel free to interact, good, bad, positive. It's all love here on the channel. But without further ado, let's get right into the video.
I'm Sarah Hashimoris in the Los Angeles Times newsroom. DMV officials today released proposed regulations for issuing California driver's licenses for immigrants living in the country illegally. The announcement comes days after federal officials rejected the state's proposed design for such licenses. Under the proposed regulations, immigrants seeking the driver's licenses could do so using foreign government-issued ID cards, utility bills, birth certificates, and other documentation. The Times reports that last year, the legislature and governor approved AB 60, which allows for driver's licenses to be issued to those in the country illegally in an effort to improve safety on the state's roads. For more, visit LATimes.com and at LA Now on Twitter.
These illegals that were in Florida.
This story.
They shouldn't have never had a CDL license, but they got one in California. We brought you this story yesterday, and it looks like they were able to, it was denied, the work permit was denied by the Trump administration, but the Biden administration granted them that work visa.
But of course, that didn't stop Governor Gavin Newsom from deciding to continue his trying to cosplay as Donald Trump by getting on Twitter and talking a big game, talking smack, saying, hey, genius, talking to the Trump administration. The federal government, Trump admin, already confirmed that this guy meets federal and state immigration requirements. You issued him a work permit as usual. The Trump administration is either lying or clueless. P.S. at Grok, who was the president in 2018. So this was all part of Gavin Newsom trying to pretend like he's a tough guy like Donald Trump because he doesn't have enough to do in his own state, like rebuilding neighborhoods that were burned to the ground by the wildfires. Tricia McLaughlin, DHS Assistant Secretary, responds and absolutely destroys him, saying false. Harjinder Singh, who's the driver of the truck that did the illegal U-turn, who's an illegal and should not have had a license, is in the United States illegally, and his work authorization was rejected under the Trump administration on September 14th, 2020. It was later approved under the Biden administration, June 9th, 2021. The state of California issues commercial driver's licenses. There is no national CDL. Sincerely, genius. So she came bringing the receipts and dropped a ton of bricks on Gavin Newsom's head.
I love that she knows the exact dates.
Oh, yeah.
September 14th. You know, that's when Donald Trump denied it. This is all because Gavin Newsom was getting criticized because there's that car accident on the Florida Turnpike where this guy, this illegal immigrant's doing the U-turn, barely even has an expression after he realizes the minivan doesn't have time to stop and slams underneath his truck. Look at that. Three people died in that, killed 3 people. And he has barely an expression when he's caught on his dash camera. And then he ends up in California. They arrest him out in California in Stockton and charge him with 3 counts of vehicle homicide and says that he entered the U.S. illegally. Then Gavin Newsom was criticized for giving him this, what's the license called? The truck driver?
Commercial driver's license.
Yes.
Well, real quickly before we move on to DeSantis' response to this, I think, Ainsley, you brought up an important point. His face was just stone cold as this happened. And I think it's important to note that 2 people died on the scene, right? The other person died in the hospital, but the white coat that was put over their body on the scene, and you have no reaction to those people that you just killed over a stupid turn. So, I don't care if if you're in the country legally or illegally, you should know.
And it's not like
turn the
and it's not like he's driving an SUV. He's driving an 18-wheeler and does a U-turn on the interstate.
It's idiotic to give driver's licenses to illegal aliens. But the idea that you're going to give a driver's license, a commercial driver's license no less, to somebody driving a 100,000-pound missile up and down the highways, are you freaking kidding me? I don't know how this could possibly have happened, but I hope the people who made those decisions are held criminally and liable and civilly.
Ron DeSantis is trying to get him extradited back to Florida so that he can go through the courts.
Okay, now you heard that. Now is the part of the show where I give my unpopular opinion. There's this wide mainstream. Look, it's not a mainstream belief. It's actually an agenda and it's propaganda. You could call it our government propaganda, but you got to understand liberals control all the left wing, all the mainstream media except for like one station, right? So they've controlled whatever's come out of the news. I'll give you, for instance, if I tell you what you're hearing on CNN is wrong, but then you go to the next station, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, and they're all saying the same thing, you're going to be like, no, bro, you're wrong, right? Because they all control, those medias are all Democrat ran. You could see loops sometimes. They'll get one talking point and they'll all say it. It's just in a loop. And they'll do that from week to week. Run with a talking point. Next week, new talking point. They're all saying the same thing. And if you're not in tune to what's going on, you can get caught up in the web of lies and deceit. And one thing they like to lie to you about illegal immigrants, saying they're not coming over here to take your jobs, is that they're just coming here to pick strawberries, jobs that, Americans won't take. I live here in South Florida. I see them in roofing companies. I see them in management roles. I see them owning nice houses in the gated communities. They may start at a low-paying job, but once they acquire the skills, they're working their way up. I do think we have a shortage of trade in this country. There's a big drop-off of kids who are going to finish high school, go and get their college degree, and become successful, and kids who don't want to sign up to none of that and become dropouts. Those kids should be umbrellaed in a trade, in my opinion, from grades 9 to 12. And that would alleviate a lot of the, that would supplement a lot of the workforce from these illegals coming in. The guy who works at the HVAC in my condo unit, the AC guy, he works for himself, for this landlord and other landlords. He makes over $500,000 a year just working for himself. He might have started at 12, 13 an hour, But it didn't take him long to just get his own business and tools together. What's happening here is just it's policy. Look, we already have a big umbrella of people in our country who are here legally and citizens. But the Democrats are not here to take care of them. They're not here for them. You know, they're here because they know they're losing the Black and Latino vote, and they need to import more votes. So that's why they just ran millions of illegals, estimated between 15 and 20 million people crossed that border under the Biden administration. And I've got videos where it showed you how they got work visas, how they can get social security numbers, and how some of them, but because of that, were able to obtain driver's license and did vote. Illegals. And now they got driver's license. They're driving around semi trucks. This is not BS, folks. This has been going on for a while, and they're allowed to do this not because we want to give someone from another country a chance, but because there's politicians that want their vote. They want to stay in power. That's all it is, because they realize they can't do nothing but this. This is what they do when you vote for them. They don't make the schools in your town better. They actually run up the taxes on business owners. If you run up the taxes on business owners, it's going to pass the cost on to you, right? California has like the highest taxes in all of the states. And that's why you go to McDonald's, you're starting at $15. You're not getting anything for $5, maybe a water in McDonald's, right? Yeah, they start minimum wage $15, $20 an hour. But now the owner, his overhead has raised. So now his payroll has increased. So now the managers have to make $25, $30 an hour, right? So they doubled his overhead and they didn't double his workforce. So he's not getting double the output. So now he has to charge more for those cheeseburgers. Democrats know this, but yet they're opposed to tariffs against foreign nations because they said it's going to pass the cost to the consumer. I mean, which one is it? It's not hard to see that these people really don't have good policy. They have good propaganda. They have great propaganda. If the Republicans were as good as propaganda as the Democrats, this country would never, ever vote a Democrat ever again. But they tell you what you want to hear, and they worry less about the outcomes. And Republicans tell you the sad truth that you don't want to hear, but they're more focused on the outcomes. All you got to do is leave a Democrat city and go to a Republican city that's ran by a Republican mayor. You will see a huge difference in the roads, the bridges, the schools. You know, maybe not the roads, depending on where you're at, but definitely the schools will be better. Definitely you'll see where at least 40% of your taxpayer money going. If you're just voting for Team A and Team B because it's entertainment for you, you're a dumbass. Every time you vote, that should be where you want to funnel your tax dollars. And it does make a difference. It makes a difference who you leave in charge with your tax dollars. Like I said, all you got to do is go to some of these cities that have historically for 60 years been ran by Democrats, and you can see where your tax dollars go. They already talking about raising the rich. They already raised the rich in taxes over there. The schools already get the most money. And these are some of the most failing schools, most failing roads, you know, highest crime and highest taxes. So, look, I don't believe in that immigrants are just coming over here to pick berries and shit. I think we need to enforce certain programs, and I think we do for a certain amount of visa workers to come and do those jobs. But we don't need 20 million of them over here, you know, whatever the number is. But they were just abusing the Biden system, which allowed them to abuse it. They gave them basically an app to sign up on and come on over. So right when they get detained, they could show them on the app that they applied for asylum. And then the Biden administration said, okay, you applied for asylum, you're good. We'll let you go in the country. Oh, in 10 years, you got to see the judge. Wink, wink. Yeah, right. Oh, and while you're waiting to see a judge, we'll put you up in a hotel room. We'll give you an application to get you a social security number. And with that, you can go and get a driver's license. And we'll figure out a way for you to get a job in our city. And if you want, go ahead and vote in our elections too, you know. And either way, whether you vote or not, you'll be counted in the census. So that'll be more electoral votes for us. it was a whole scheme, continued to be a scheme for a long time until Trump came and addressed it. I know a lot of y'all don't want to hear that, but it's the truth. So that's what it is. And Gavin Newsom, you know, to me, the Democrats always live in hot water. With a common sense issue, they're 80% against. Common sense issue. Like, Republicans are not like reinventing the wheel with policy and coming up with a brain fart idea. Like, they're literally just giving you common sense shit here. Men should not be allowed in women's bathrooms. Illegals should not just be allowed to cross the border, claim asylum, get social security number, get work visas, get voter ID, get driver's license, right? You know, you claim, oh, well, they're in our city and they're paying taxes. They're not paying taxes. Maybe if they go to the store and buy something, but the IRS doesn't have them documented to send them a 499. Stop saying they're paying taxes. I hear that shit all the time too. Oh, they're paying taxes. No, they're not paying taxes. They're not U.S. citizens. The IRS is not sending them nothing for them to pay taxes. You know, me and you pay taxes, not them, you know? So, I mean, look, life is about choices. And look, I moved from New Orleans and Baton Rouge. I love my Tigers. Go Tigers. Go Saints. Who that, baby? But look, I'm over here in Florida now. And it's great. Life is good. You know, life is good. The schools are good. The bridges, the roads are good. My kids getting an education. I can leave her bicycle out all day. This is the middle class neighborhood. This isn't a rich neighborhood. Leave it out all week. No one's going to touch it. Somebody actually did touch it. You know what they did? They brought it to my front door. It was like, hey, man, I brought your daughter's bike to your front door. Hey, look, if you want changes, you got to make the change. Either you got to vote differently or move around. But you can't just be a stick in the mud when it's raining all around you. You know, you getting an umbrella ain't gonna help. You need to move around. You got to figure things out. And America is big enough to help you navigate that. But trust me, it doesn't have to be a rainy cloud over your head every day. Look, you are on UOS, the Unpopular Opinion Show. I was your host, Johnny Caruso. Give me a subscribe now and always. Peace, love, and happiness. Until next time, peace.